What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Timeline Riff. It's been a pretty scarce week for me. I've been out and about vacationing with the wife in Louisiana, New Orleans to be more specific. And oh, armchair priest made one. Good shit, brother. Welcome to the show. Um, yeah, so I've been gone for like 4 days or 5 days, something like that. And then before that, I kind of had a little bit of a flub on the last episode. If you guys heard that, it was episode number 11 of the Ravens Watch featuring Escanor Reloaded. And we had a little bit of an echo issue, which sucked ass. Real unfortunate. Big bummer. Episode still went out, got a lot of positive feedback, but we have been sort of just, you guys have been deprived a little bit. I've been depriving you. I haven't been around. I apologize, but I'm back now and I got a stacked week for you. And this episode, we are not going to be talking much about the timeline because, as I said earlier, your boy went to New Orleans and there's kind of a lot of stuff to talk about when it comes to New Orleans. And so we're gonna get into that today. Before we get into it, though, I do want to show off my new shirt. Right, boom. Reading is gay. Everyone knows this to be a fact. This is an absolute. You can go and pick up your own "Reading is Gay" tank top. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is a medium. Your boy's not a very big guy. I'm kind of a small guy. This is more of a schmedium. It kind of looks good. It looks tight and form fitting. I would have liked a little bit of extra breathing room though. So if you happen to go to toplobster.com to pick up your own "Reading is Gay" shirt, get a large if you're a small guy like me. And if you are bigger than me and you're not too sure, get a size up from what you typically get because it's a little snug. But still, gets the message across. Reading is gay. And the fun thing about the shirt is if you know what it says, well, now you're gay Be- because you read it. See how that works. So moving on to New Orleans. You know, I don't go on a lot of vacations. And so the wife is always kind of, unhappy about it. She wants to go more places. I said, you know what? You're right. We do need to go more places. And so I always have this thing instead of traveling outside of the country, before we go to France and European, before we go to Thailand, all these other places, there's stuff here in our great United States where we can see some impressive stuff. And so I've always wanted to go to New Orleans. New Orleans has a really cult heavy lore to it. And that movie came out recently, The Demeter. I still haven't watched it. I'd like to watch it, but it's the story about, I believe Dracula was facing impending doom in Transylvania and needed to escape. And so he stowawayed upon a ship. That ship took him, excuse me, to New Orleans. And that's where you get all your vampire lore. And the movie that just came out, The Demeter, was about the voyage of Dracula upon this ship coming to New Orleans. And so I have yet to check that out, although I'd like to. And that is where you get the basis for the movie, the very famous vampire movie, Interview with a Vampire, with Brad Pitt and man, who the hell else was in that movie? I don't remember who was in that movie. I just know Brad Pitt was a effeminate vampire. It was a good movie from what I remember. Although I'd like to revisit that too because that was a long time ago. Anyway, so there's always been this uh, New York City is a melting pot, right? So you have all these different cultures coming together, and New Orleans is a different type of melting pot, and it's not like a cultural melting pot as much as it's like a mythos melting pot, where you have Celtic mythology wrapped up with African mythology and voodoo hiding itself within Catholic saints. So you've got all this sort of what would you call it? Everything is about the Saints, right? Even the I believe it's the Louisiana Saints is the name of the football team. There was a football game going on while I was down there, and I guess they won. Your boy doesn't watch football at all, so I really didn't understand what the hell was going on. They kept screaming through the streets, "Who dat? Who dat?" I don't know. I don't know who that is, but apparently that's got something to do with football. Uh, so Excuse me. I got like a thing in my throat too. I don't think you get to escape the city, especially one like New Orleans, and we're gonna get into it without kind of contracting a little something. So your boy's got a little, in his throat, some little twinge that keeps kind of screwing with him. Uh, had to skip out for a second, but yeah, man, you're 100% right. They love to hide behind things that should be good. Yeah, from the armchair priest. That is very much so. It was the slaves uh hid their beliefs within Catholicism to avoid persecution, I believe is how the story goes. And I'm not too sure on that, but I think that's the nature of it. So from the outside, it looks like they're worshiping the saints, right? That's why you have constant depictions of like Mother Mary in voodoo and hoodoo and Santeria, but that it's actually a subversion. They are hiding their original belief system within Catholicism. And so, all in all, I will say I had an awesome experience. Your boy got to talk to a psychic, which was really cool. Um, Went in and out of a lot of voodoo shops, had some haunting experiences, and we'll get into that shortly. Very annoying. I don't like when things mess with my sleep. Something definitively messed with my sleep there, so that sucked. But so let's start from the beginning. We booked this trip out to New Orleans, not very expensive. We kind of went during, I guess technically right now it's hurricane season, and so we didn't pay a lot of money there, which was cool. Got a hotel, didn't cost a lot. You'll end up paying a lot when you go to New Orleans because the food is very expensive, and if you happen to fall into any of the tourist traps, you're going to end up paying a lot too because they're charging an arm and a leg out there for the dumbest of shit. And it felt very much like every other storefront was a tourist trap. So there's a lot of that shit. You kind of have to just keep moving. Like any city, there's a tremendous amount of homeless people. And the homeless people, I'm not going to lie to you, they were the bane of my existence. Like that was the worst part about New Orleans because all of the bad parts about New Orleans stem from the homeless people. For example, the constant smell of human shit. It's everywhere. I mean, like, my wife stepped in human shit. I know that there's those apps in Los Angeles to watch out for human shit. We could have used that app for New Orleans because had we had that app, my wife would not have used her kids to river stomp a hobo turd into the concrete. It was a lot of smells, a lot of smells. The constant smell of hot piss too, because they're just pissing on the streets. What are they gonna do? They don't got they don't got a toilet, so they piss on the streets. Even though there's plenty of buckets around, and all of the people instead of shitting and pissing in the buckets seem to be playing them. There's a lot of like children playing drums on buckets while people twerk at them. So I don't do well with big crowds. I don't really it sounds like a cliche. I don't really like people. And I'm not very much into big crowds, but I'm not like a country boy either. I like the suburbs. I like just a normal. I want to be able to drive to Walmart and go to a mall if I so please, but then be left alone by you. And by that I mean escaping in a 15-minute drive to my own home, my nice quiet block, and not having to worry about looking out the window and seeing dudes shit on the floor. This is not the case in New Orleans. You will look out the window, you will see dudes shit on the floor. There was quite a bit of that. I would look out the window of my hotel and I would see people dealing drugs at the Popeyes. And I will let you speculate as to what those people looked like. But there was people consistently outside my window selling drugs outside the Popeyes, which was a wonderful view. My hotel got switched last second. I was supposed to be on Bourbon Street. I ended up on Canal Street, which I would argue is better because Bourbon Street is one of the rings of hell. It's one of the places that Dante visited in the Inferno. It is a level of hell. It's disgusting, and it will make you, unless you're not like me. I mean, some people love it. I saw a lot of smiling faces. I thought it was horrible. I thought it was horrible. So, but if you can get past this gross um surface level stuff and appreciate what the hobos are squatting on, it's actually amazing. So in New Orleans, you have a tremendous amount of really, really, really old architecture, right? It's these things that when you see them, oh, what? Hold on a second. Armchair priest. Yeah, my great grandfather was a Santeria priest. Ended his work because he was shown something that shocked him so bad he wouldn't tell his family. He also put a curse on any uncles that married in. Damn, dude. Grandpa sounds kind of douchey. Sounded like he had an opportunity there to turn a corner and maybe not curse potential uncles in the future. Um, but hey, I guess that's his thing. He's into Santeria, and that's a curse heavy thing, right? I gotta fix my hat. I see like a little acne mark right there. Uh, so anyway, there is this beauty to it, and it is this. It evokes like images of Jack the Ripper, right? You imagine like Jack the Ripper on a cobblestone street at night with mist around him and people reaching out and closing their wooden shutters on their homes. The homes all look like that. There was a bar at least that claimed to be from like the 1790s, I think it was, and they still had the oil burning lamps on the outside. Everything looks like it's about to fall apart. It's on the New Orleans and Bourbon Street is on the verge of collapse perpetually. And everything is uh a violation of OSHA. Like nobody's working down there. Everybody's drinking and smoking and nobody is fixing things. Like there was a lot of I haven't really been to many places where I went, is this place better for legalizing weed? Oh, interesting question. From you told me your name once, but it still reads as fuck. So I am a lot of different things. Ancestry.com has me at like 14 or 15 different ethnicities. So my family's like a really big melting pot. I'm primarily South American, from Uruguay. That's where my father's from, but he's got like my great grandmother on my. Oh, here's a little bit of lore for you guys. My great grandmother on my father's side was a slave. She was a black woman from Spain, who was traded to, I believe it was Uruguay, by the Portuguese. And I don't know much about her except for that's where the name Corbo comes from. So that's where my last name comes from. And Corbo means of the raven. So check that shit out. But as far as any kind of black that I retained through genetics, it's like 11% or 12%. So primarily it's Uruguayan, and then on my mom's side, Irish and French. So those are the main things, but then everything else gets muddied up. It's like 13 different things. Yeah, it is amazing to your point that I only learned this recently about my lineage. Just from asking uncles and aunts and doing some homework, and I messaged some people who still live in Uruguay to get, and then I had to translate it. It was a whole thing. But yeah, so that's all I got so far. Her name was Corbo, and according to my dad, she had a fat ass. I don't know, dude. I don't make the rules. That's just what she had. So yeah, there is definitely this uh really spooky vibe to all these old decrepit buildings, and they are all falling apart, and it doesn't feel like anybody's trying to fix anything, and it feels like it's a perpetual party. For those of you who haven't been there, the image in your mind that you have of like Mardi Gras, that shit is happening all the time on Bourbon Street. So my wife and I went to dinner on Bourbon Street. The food was amazing. I mean, the food was so good that I can overlook the testicles of a homeless man that I did in fact see in New Orleans on Bourbon Street, who was laid strewn out upon the ground, with just these loose fitting cotton kind of H&M shorts, like that homeless chic that everybody talks about. And his balls, dude, were just out. I just got a good look at his balls. And yeah, dude, I looked at his balls. What am I going to do? Not look at this homeless guy's balls? How often do you see homeless balls? You have to look. So, uh, the food was so good that it overshadowed that man's balls. I had gumbo, alligator bites, fried catfish, um, crawfish, what's that? What's that other redfish, red snapper? Dude, it was all so good. And I also found that I have an affinity for Bloody Marys. I really enjoy a Bloody Mary. I drank so many Bloody Marys. I was having Bloody Marys for breakfast. I showed up there, Bloody Mary and catfish for breakfast. It's fucking amazing. The food is amazing. I can't really. Oh Jesus, what in the world? Hold on, I got to read this because there's some keywords in here that are going, huh? Yep, no bueno. Glad my dad met my Catholic mom, whose dad was a German American killed in World War II. I got a mix of both worlds and chose the word of God. There you go, my boy. Could only imagine we're related. We all are. Yeah, that's for damn sure. Um, you know, I that's why when people say like, "What's my ethnicity?" I don't really know. Like my mom's dad ran out on her, and yeah, I probably should be careful. I think I just said it 7 consecutive times. I don't know what's gonna happen. Um, my mom's dad ran out on her, and he was French. So I'm French. I think that explains some of the aesthetics, the mustache and things like that. French people typically have strong mustaches. Um, so yeah, man, the food was so amazing. I mean, based off of that, I had a wonderful time. And if you watch my Instagram, I kind of was like going hard on calling because it is fucking disgusting. It's a disgusting place. But um I would definitely go back. I had a wonderful time. I would have liked to have experienced more of the sort of occult underbelly that exists out there. Like I said earlier in the show, I did see a psychic. And the way I saw this psychic, because there's plenty of them, there is no shortage of people looking to rip off tourists. That is the hugest, like, frustrating thing about New Orleans is, we weren't able to check into our hotel right away. Our check-in time, we got there at like 11. The check-in was until 2. That's 4 hours of just walking around with a backpack on, or 3 hours. I'm retarded. A backpack on. So everybody can tell that you're from out of town. And so everybody, like my wife literally had to peel me away from a homeless guy because I'm such a dumbass that like I knew he was trying to scam me. I was just waiting for because I don't like to be cruel to people. I don't like to be rude. Um, and so I was allowing him to like do his pitch, and I'm waiting for an opportunity to be like, no thanks, dude, I gotta go. But it's designed as such that there is no opportunity, and that's where they get kind, well-meaning people. And at some point, he just reaches down and squirts a bunch of fucking jismus goo on my sneaker because he's gonna clean it now. And what they do is they force something on you, and then they insist that you pay them. And if you don't pay them, they give you a really hard time. But as soon as he squirted the jismus goo on my shoe, my wife like grabbed me and she's like, no, 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 no. And I was like, no, 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 no. And we got the hell out of there. But it's a constant dodging, bobbing, and weaving of homeless people. And it really sucks. So between the smells and the harassment, and then there was quite a few homeless people that like wanted to give me the work. I'm like walking and I'd look over and I'd see a homeless guy and he'd fucking zero in on me. And then next thing you know, he's like fighting the air and looking at me and saying something. It's in indiscernible language, Hobonese, and he's fucking, but it's clear, some things they transcend language. And I could tell this guy wanted a piece. Very frustrating. Very frustrating. And then another thing that's strange is I saw like the same hobos, especially the ornery ones who didn't like me. I saw them again and again and again and again and again to the point where it was so uncanny. I was saying to my wife, how in a city this densely populated and this big do I keep seeing the same ornery hobos? I don't. So yeah, and they definitely were speaking in tongues. So um, but yeah, man, the food was amazing. Everything looks like it's like I was joking around because there's so many tripping hazards. There's like constantly holes. The infrastructure is falling apart. It is that town, that city is in need of dire repair. And I was joking around. I was saying that these homeless people, they're not homeless people. They're just people that tripped and fell and decided to stay where they landed because there are so many holes. Like you have to constantly be looking down, or you're going to roll an ankle or break an ankle. And they don't give a, there just seems to be everything is in disrepair. Nobody is fixing anything. So, that aspect of it was whack. But there was countless bookstores filled with old dusty tomes. A lot of people LARPing. This is one of the things I didn't like very much is I went to an artist. She was a sweetheart, a street artist, because I wanted to get something which I do have it. It'll be for the new studio whenever we get that up and going. And it won't be a backdrop anymore. We're gonna have a room, and there's gonna be decor and yada yada. But I wanted to buy something authentic. I didn't want to buy something overpriced from one of the shops, so I found a person selling their art on the street, and I bought some really cool gargoyle artwork from her. And we had a little chat, and I asked her, um, for example, like, hey, the symbols that you're drawing, because they're all over. She's got a whole what would you call it, a gallery. I'm looking through her gallery, and I see a lot of symbols that, like, make my ears perk up and my eyes kind of, I know what's going on. And I want to kind of draw it out of her. So I'm going, like, where are you getting the inspiration from? And I think too much of these people, because she just kind of goes, oh, I don't know. I don't know. I thought it looked cool. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of, like, people LARPing. There's a lot of goth kids that are, like, I'm a vampire. And I didn't want to be around all that. I wanted to get to, like, the greasy, but no, I didn't really, right? I'm out there with my wife. I want to have a good time. I don't want to fucking get sucked upon by some actual vampire, or we're just wrapped up into some occult nonsense. So the first day, we did a lot of, every day we did in excess of 10 miles of walking, which was cool because your boy was able to eat whatever the hell he wanted and then burn off all those calories. Super sweet. Uh and that night, after, we had some cool food. We walked around Bourbon Street. We did laps around, basically the entire thing. In and out of all kinds of different stores, having drinks, Bloody Mary after Bloody Mary. We go back to, oh shit, how many times was that? I gotta chill. Um, we go back to, yeah, Richard Lorenzo saying that New Orleans is the epicenter for Santeria. It is 100% true. 100% true. It's everywhere. The town, or the city, is many things, and it's occultic and gay. There's just, everything is super gay. Everything is, and I don't mean that in like a, like, gay lame. Now I mean it in a very literal sense. Like, everything is gay. There's, like, pride flags off of every single balcony, every store. That's like, we allow pride here, as if they didn't know. There's fucking hobos with their balls out and turds on the floor. You think that anybody's not allowed here? Everybody's allowed here. Anybody that will come, they'll have them. You don't need to hang the flag and tell everybody that they're welcome here, because everybody knows they're welcome here. Because if I'm not welcome here, why are this man's balls out? Huh? If you discriminate against anybody, why not the hobo? Because everything smells like piss and poop. So if you were going to keep anybody out, it would be the homeless people. If you're not doing that, then the gays are allowed. We know this. So we end up, after doing the laps, eating the food, seeing the hobo balls, all that stuff. I don't know if we did much on the first day besides that. We went to the French market. Yeah, not really too much. We went back to the hotel, and I actually had what can only be described as a stupid fucking haunting. I get very upset. I don't like when things mess with my sleep. I have to change that, actually, because this morning I woke up to Top Lobster of Tower Gang. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the show, but it's a big show. It's a fun show. It's the most offensive show on YouTube, on Rumble, what have you. But he sent me a link that said, "Hey, dude, hop in." It was like saying to hop on the show, which is great for me if I wasn't already asleep. Top Lobster sent me that message at 9:17, and I was already asleep. So I'm going to fix that. We're going to stay up late. Tonight, I have a guy coming on the show. His name's Conspiracy Kyle. We're going to talk about all of the blasphemy and the conspiracy and the symbolism in Star Wars. He knows it very well. He's got an entire show dedicated to it, 3 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. He knows his shit. So he's going to come on the show, but he's not coming on till 8:30. And I just want you guys to know that I do this for the love of the game, to provide value to the audience and to create something cool. I will stay up past 8:30. Even later. I got to fix these things. But I really don't like when things mess with my sleep. It's the number one time you're going to catch me being cranky, right? So I go to sleep after, hiking 10 miles around this stinky city with a belly full of catfish and Bloody Marys. Damn it, dude. I got to chill. And this is how I know when I have experiences. I think if I didn't, I probably wouldn't do this show. It would have never made me interested in all these things, conspiratorial and occult and all these things. So, um, I know when I'm gonna have experiences. They typically happen when I'm trying to go to sleep. And one of the big red flags where I'm like, shit, man, it's gonna be one of those nights. And it's not fun. Sorry, I keep adjusting this, but this is annoying as hell. So it's not fun, these experiences. Um, but the way that I know that they're gonna happen is as soon as I fall asleep, I immediately pop back open. Like as soon as I drift off, I'm immediately woken up and I feel unsettled. And that'll happen like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. I'm trying to go to sleep until eventually I start giving up on it. So, and typically, just so you know, in contrast, I am a heavy sleeper. I'm asleep by like 9, 9:30 most nights, and I sleep until 6:30 in the morning. No problems. Barely wake up. I get a lot of sleep. All right. Uh, and so I'm having this happen. I'm trying to go to sleep, and my eyes keep popping open. I'm just awake for no reason. Something just keeps waking me up, and I'm getting unsettled. And a lot of the times, look, if I wake up in the middle of the night and I have to pee, there's no spooky thoughts. I don't even think about it. I just go, it's time to pee. Then there's a different mode that happens where I'm woken up in the middle of the night and I've got a sense of dread. I've got a sense of unease. Something is going on. So this is happening. And at some point, I do manage to drift off for like a meaningful 30, 40 seconds instead of like the initial fall asleep and jolt awake kind of a deal, which becomes exhausting. Um, and I'm woken up after what I feel like was probably only like 30 seconds to bung, 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 something knocking on the glass panel of the window. Right. But the only problem is we're on the second floor. And this isn't like a thing that somebody can scale. And these hobos, they're not built like that. They're not scaling much of anything. Um, and I don't know why I just thought of a homeless guy. He had a sign and it said, "I'm tired of sucking dick for cheeseburgers." And I just thought of that level of desperation and like maybe some of these hobos could scale a building, but it's not outside of a hobo scaling my building and knocking on my second floor window just so nobody could answer. It's also unopenable. There's no point to it. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But that wasn't the sense that I got. As soon as I hear the bung bung bung, the way that it like reverberates off a big glass panel. Um I I already know because I've been through this. If you guys have listened to the other shows and you've ever heard my experiences, you know about like the knocking. Sometimes I go to sleep and there's the knocking. I don't like it. It gives you a really unsettling feeling. It feels very much like something's knocking on you. And so I almost decided to stay awake there, but I didn't. I went back to sleep and was woken up shortly after by 3 sharp knocks this time. Knocks on wood, knocks on the door of the hotel room. And because I'm having these experiences already, I choose to kind of like ignore it. My wife immediately wakes up and she starts talking to me like, "Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Like somebody's knocking at the door." I'm like, "Fuck, man." I get up, I put my pants on, I go to the front door, I look through the peephole. I ain't not opening the shit. Sorry, guys. I'm not built like that. All right. Because the way I see it is you don't let these things in. And if I'm watching me, like my life is a movie and I'm in the audience, I'm in the audience going, "Don't open that door, dude." So I'm not going to open the fucking door because I don't want it to come in. Whatever it is, it's not getting it. I look through the peephole and you could see pretty wide. It's a wide view. I could see even around the corner a little bit of the hallway. Nobody's in there. And at that moment, I turn and I look at the oven and it is the stroke of midnight. Like this has all happened. This is all like a 15 to 20-second thing where like I get up and I go fast because somebody's banging on my door and you feel like defensive and aggressive and like who the fuck is doing this? So I go fast and nobody's there. I look over and it's the stroke of midnight, which is very unsettling. It's very unsettling. I don't know. So I decide, all right, well, I'm not luckily I'm on vacation and luckily I'm here for another 3 days and I don't have to worry about waking up early. So the lights are on and we're up now. That's just what it is. I put pants on because that's what you do when you're ready for stuff. You put pants on because I don't want to fight a greasy demon in my boxer briefs. You know, as much as they are athletic and form fitting and they hold everything in, just not. I like pants because if I'm going to be defeated by a greasy demon, I don't want. I want the paramedics to find me in my pants, and I want my wife to see her husband's final moments in pants. Or maybe I don't. I don't know. Maybe it's better to go out dick a swinging. But so I stayed up for the rest of that night, and for the rest of the time there, I will say that's all that happened as far as the weird spooky shit outside of constant shadows around the apartment or the hotel room. Constant corner of your eyes, every the space between doors. If the doors open a little bit and you can see the space, there's fucking shadows going everywhere. But it's whatever because I fucking rebuked them in the name of Christ. And I said, you have no rights here. I am the owner of this hotel room for the next 4 days. You have no rights to be here. And in the name of Christ, get the fuck out and go where he wills you. And do not come back here to me or my wife. Because I really didn't want to come home with like attachments. I think I did all right. I mean, time will tell. So that was really the only scary experience. And I would say outside of the food, and we did go see Coheed and Cambria for those of you who know Coheed and Cambria, and I waited around for Coheed to damn right. Amen. Say it again. So we went and saw Coheed and Cambria. We saw another band first. They were called Death Heaven. And I thought they sucked. I don't know. For those of you that are listening, if you go look up Death Heaven, it's a lot of like, I can't even do it because of the thing where I told you got a thing. I can't do it, but it's the screaming. It's so hard to hear. I was like, is this good? Uh, is their equipment like not synced properly so that you can't really understand what he's saying? And then Coheed got on, and I was like, oh, there's the melodies and things of that nature, and they were much better. Didn't play any of the songs that I was there for 3 songs, right? One of them I don't know the name to. I was there for The Suffering. I was there for Welcome Home. What is that what's called? It's The Suffering. Yeah, I think that's Welcome Home. Or maybe that's The Suffering. Either way, and they never played those songs. They didn't play the oldies for me. I haven't listened to Coheed and Cambria since I was in high school, so we're talking well over a decade ago. And they didn't play the oldies. And luckily, my wife is just as old as I am, so she's like, maybe we should get out of here. Yeah, there you go. Boom. Welcome home. Thank you, MK Ryan. And so we ended up getting it. I wish I would have stayed, honestly, just to hear The Suffering and Welcome Home would have been cool. Never got around to it. No big deal. And we hit the streets, ate a dirty sausage. That wasn't a sexual euphemism. We went to a place that had cheap sausage and we bought it and it was delicious. Because if you we went to like Voodoo Chicken or some shit like that. That is a tourist trap. I mean, I'm telling you, I paid for gumbo. I don't even have it was so tiny. You know, when you were in high school and you used to get the little juice cups, they were like a plastic cup with a foil. You could peel it back. It was that filled with gumbo. I paid $8 for it. And I was better off going to Popeyes. I didn't want to do that though. I didn't want to go to I'm in New Orleans, right? I want to get something cool every time. And I'm a big seafood guy. I don't get to eat a lot of seafood because my wife doesn't like it, and nobody else in the house does. And my son likes it a little bit. He's my little homie. Me and him, we're gonna have these bangers. Once he gets a little bit older, we'll be able to go and have a bunch of different seafood and stuff. What was really weird too was the amount of people who brought their children. And I'm telling you, like, this was disheartening. It was completely shit-faced adults pushing strollers with babies in them. And the babies are crying. The babies are crying because one, it's late. We stayed out. I remember when I really saw a bunch of babies crying, and just black ladies twerking all around them and the babies crying. It was like some sort of fucked up ritual. It was like 11 o'clock at night and I was already exhausted. And the parents are, when you look into somebody's eyes and you're like, oh, you're not fucking there, dude. And they're animated and they're talking and shouting, but you're like, you're not home or you're not you. You look so fucked up. You don't even look like this can't be who you are, right? Those people are pushing around baby strollers. And there's, inconsolable children crying everywhere. It's fucking bizarre. I never bring my kid to anything like that. That's why would you fucking do that? Especially with the shit that you're going to see. I don't need my kids seeing ball sack and picking up turds. Um, I think I said it earlier too. Was like weed's been legalized there, and I looked around and I was like, is this fucking place better for this? Like, are these people better for weed being legal? I don't think so. I don't have anything against weed, but like, I don't think anybody's better for it being legal, especially not in New Orleans. You make a hard argument. I get not throwing people in cages for it, and that I agree with, but like just smoking it on the sidewalk, it was like fucking everybody was zonked out of their minds. Everybody was fucked up. Um, and there is a heaviness to New Orleans. There's like a spiritual heaviness. Like that place feels like a sort of evil blanket. We tried to go to the cemeteries to go see like Marie Laveau or whoever it was, bitch that died. She was a psychic or something. We got fucked up on the trolleys. We ended up going on the wrong trolley, getting off, getting on what we thought was the right trolley, still the wrong trolley, going all the way down to like the opposite end of New Orleans, and then getting so frustrated we walked all the way back. We spent Saturday morning doing that. So Saturday was supposed to be like, we're going to go do this and that. No, we just got our steps in and then we went back to the hotel. And we did end up having a good time that night. But I would say that the experiential highlight of the trip was going and seeing a psychic. And I said to you guys earlier, I didn't want to be bamboozled by some tourist trap psychic. So I asked the girl who we bought art from. Her name was Taylor. Shout out Taylor. Now, was Taylor a little retarded? Yeah, she was. Was Taylor kind of a morbidly obese white girl wearing a witch's hat? Yeah, she was. When we purchased the art and went to say thank you and farewell, did Taylor look at my wife and go, grrr? Yeah, she did. And I don't know why Taylor did that. But what Taylor did do is point us in the direction. I don't know why she went, grrr, but she did. And I ignored it because I am a gentleman and she made lovely artwork. So I ignored it. When we got away, I said, did she just grrr at you? And my wife said, yes, she did. She was excited that we bought her artwork, but it was fairly priced and it was well done. Taylor is many things, but she is a wizard with a pencil and not like the stupid hat that she was wearing, although I guess there's an argument for that. So she says, go to the apothecary. If you go to the apothecary when they open at 11 a.m., because it was early still, you will meet a gentleman named Richard, I think. And Richard is a talented tarot reader. And now, for those of you listening, I am aware that tarot is a big sketchy mess. But the nature of my show is to delve into the occult. And I do think that there is some validity in tarot. Not that it is a good thing, but that it is a functioning thing. Like it's not all a gimmick. I think the same thing about astrology, even though if you went back a few years, I'd be like, astrology is fake and gay. I had a couple of really uncanny experiences where I was like, oh shit, astrology, like mainstream astrology is fake and gay, but real astrology is just gay. It's not fake, but it's definitely not fucking okay. I don't think. I don't know. I don't fucking know. And then numerology is the same thing. Numerology is like I've had some people give me readings where I'm like shit, and I'm not. I know I'm sitting, and if you're listening to this, you're going, oh, Dave, you're such a sucker. You're falling for cold reads. Like I look for that. I am a conspiracy theorist at heart. I don't trust anything really, and so I am very skeptical when I have these experiences. And I've had some experiences where I go like, shit, man, I guess all of my attributes, this is where I'm at in life. My attributes were certainly decided before I got to this realm. So I was born on a certain day at a certain time under a certain thing. And like all of those attributes, they truly are my attributes. They really are. It was like it almost removed the specialness from me. Where like I've had people tell me to a T who I am without knowing me, and say things that I know in my heart to be true, and it doesn't really make me feel. I should say it doesn't remove my specialness. I don't feel bad, but I go, oh shit! Like when we enter this realm, we enter, and the time in which we do it imbues us with attributes. It's like if you're playing a video game and you pick your skill set before you start, and then like you still got to fucking sharpen the skill set throughout the game, but like you picked a rogue, bitch, so you got to fucking do the sneaking, and you got to do the archery and shit like that, and you got to fucking do the little knife, and you're gonna be good at the little knife, but don't try to get the big double sword because that's not what you were fucking born under. So I definitely feel as though that's true. So the tarot cards, good news, guys. You got in on the ground level because the show is going to be a massive success, according to Richard something with an L. The show is going to be a massive success, and he said a bunch of things that were really interesting to me, and I don't want to get into uh too much of them. I guess I will. What the fuck am I doing? So one of the things he said was like, you know, uh, there was at one point a woman in my life who said and did horrible things with their words, and he painted this picture. I knew he was talking about. I had an ex who told me that because I used to be homeless when I was a kid, and she told me that I was nothing but like a homeless, worthless piece of shit bum whose mom didn't love him, and that hurt a lot. But she would say things like that, but like now I'm beyond that. I'm past that, and that was one of the things he said. He also said that um, there was some points of contention that I was experiencing about feeling disrespected by people as of lately. And I live a wonderful life. I love my life. I genuinely do. So I'm not really an angry guy, but I will admit that lately I have been getting a little perturbed because when you do what I do, you have to reach out to guests. And when you have the numbers that my show has, because we're new and we're just getting our footing, it's been about, I think we're going to hit the 2 month mark soon. The numbers don't reflect the content, and so a lot of people, they trail you along, rabbit or the carrot on a string. They make commitments to you, and then they pull out of those commitments, and then they just don't respond to you anymore, which sucks because I'm trying to book things, and I can't help but feel disrespected and slighted, and I want to say, "Hey, you stupid bitch, don't do that to me," but I don't do that because honestly, I get it. We all have lives. You don't know me from Adam. You don't owe me anything. Sometimes nerves get in the way. Sometimes maybe you just don't feel like I'm worth the time. Maybe you got a busy schedule, So, MK Ryan, what are we gonna call the fans? I don't know. It's interesting because if you look up what you call a flock of ravens, well, one, you couldn't call them a flock, but you can also call them a conspiracy. When I found that out, I was like, oh, that's so good. And then you could also call them a rave, which just feels a little fucking. I don't know. I don't like that one too much. But I just don't think if you say the conspiracy that people will even know what the hell you're talking about. So I don't know. And I like the flock. That's cool, but apparently it's been done a lot. And also I don't like the feeling of like who has a flock. A shepherd has a flock. I'm not a fucking shepherd. I'm not leading anybody anywhere. I'm nobody's leader. So that kind of I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna call the fans of the show. Conspiracy is kind of cool, but only the fans would get it. But that's all that's important, right? And if you guys look, that's actually the unkindness is a oh, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. An unkindness is a group of ravens. It's a murder that's a group of crows. That's actually a raven tattoo, and I got it because of my last name, and it's got a claymore through the back because even though I asked for it and didn't think about scale at the time, because a claymore should be infinitely larger than a fucking raven. I just thought that my family lineage had been hurt, but is still alive, and I carry the name, so I got a fucking damaged raven on my shoulder. I don't know. It just fucking. I thought it was cool. But yeah, I don't know. We'll cross that bridge one day. What to call the fans of the show? Um, and unkindness also sounds cool, but I always think about people from an outside perspective. But I guess those people don't matter. As I'm saying that, my internal narrator is like, "Bitch, that doesn't matter. Who cares what they think?" But I just sometimes I'm like, would anybody get it if I was just like, the unkindness is growing? or the conspiracy is growing. I don't know. One day we'll figure that out. Um, so yeah, we go through all this tarot stuff, and he's says the show is going to be very successful. He says basically, don't lose myself. Um, he says that the reason the people like the show are because I'm genuine and this is exactly who I am all the time, and that I have to be really careful not to become something different. He was telling me about because he knows the guy Zach Zach Bragg. Does anybody know Zach Bragg? Zach Bragg is like the guy from Ghost Adventures or something. And he's got this shtick that he does where he's always like, "Come at me, bro," like with the ghost. And and he was saying that at some point, someone cleverly called Zach Bragg Scooby Douche, which is hilarious. But the problem with Zach is that he found something that worked, and then he just ran with it, and he kind of became a caricature of himself. And I think that is a type of curse, you know? Or like I have to be careful because one day if I do something out of pocket a little bit, I might go viral for that. Like let's just say hypothetically, guys, like one day there's a moment during a show where I say something and it works so well that I'm like, "Oh, I have to recapture that magic." You know, catch lightning in a bottle. I have to recreate this magic over and over again. And chasing that will inevitably turn me into a caricature of myself. And I do not want that. I want to just, if I change and grow naturally, then the show is going to change and grow naturally. I'm not a static person. I'm not going to be the same person forever. Um, right. Ideally, all of us. And so I don't want to get locked. And I kind of think that's what he was speaking to is like, don't get locked into some bullshit and then end up becoming this compromised version because I certainly am not doing this show to make money or get big. I'm doing this show because if I, well, you guys don't know this actually. Okay. So if I don't do this show, I've always done a show. I've tried a lot of things. I did a show called Where I Belong. That sounds desperate, right? It was like me trying to find where I belong because I always felt like I don't know, like I wanted to speak and that my natural gift was communication, but not just like HR, like communicating, like sharing information. And also have been a conspiracy theorist since I was like 16 years old. So really what I've always been communicating to people off camera was that one day Walmarts are going to get transformed into FEMA camps and that they were going to rip you away from your mothers and fathers and loved ones. So um I never I never actually did that. So what ended up happening was I did like 70 episodes of a show, right? So there's 100+ hours of me talking about shit that didn't even like really. I mean, I'm not gonna say it didn't matter to me. It was great. I interviewed people, I made friends, it was awesome, but I still kept what I really wanted to talk about suppressed. And then I did another show, and it was a really well produced show. In fact, this backdrop is from that show. It's called Dave and Jay versus the World, DJVW, and it was a dunk fest. It was funny all the time. All we did was be funny, and we did not touch conspiracies with like a 10-foot pole. We joked about paranormal shit, but it was like all pop cultural topical bullshit where we just like, did you see what happened with fucking Tess Holiday on the cover of Maxim magazine? She's fucking fat. And then we do that for a long time, and you know, it was satisfying, but it also wasn't me. It was me dialed all the way up to 10 and only being funny. And that wasn't really me either. And so I stopped doing that show eventually, but the itch was still there. So for like 8 years, man, yeah, shit. Has it been 8 years? I was gonna say I started when I was 25. I'm 33. 8 years I've been doing this, and only for 2 months have I been actually talking about what I want to talk about. So I don't do this for the money and I don't do this for the success because in my mind, honestly, I think the chances of finding money and success to a show are slim to none because I've been doing it for 8 years. So I got pretty close with the last show. We had a studio that we paid for, and Joe Rogan microphones and cameras, and we had our own young Jamie behind the laptop pulling stuff up for us, and that didn't find success. And thank God it didn't, because I think it taught me to put that to the side. Not worried about that. I just need to make something, or the internal narrator will rip me apart for not being true to myself and not talking about the things that I want to talk about, and not doing the thing that I think I should be doing. I mean, it's been 8 years. If I haven't given up on the dream yet, I'm not going to. So I'll be an unsuccessful podcaster screaming into the ether till I'm 78 years old. Uh, and in all of that, he basically said, "Don't lose who I am." Um, which is weird, because even when I was a kid, you can't see him now because this one is indiscernible, and this one has been covered up with a rose tattoo. But I tattooed on myself with a tattoo gun that I made myself, by the way, the words "Stay true," as if I couldn't have anything else more cliche on my body. And when I was a kid, I just had these ideas of grandeur, that I was going to be successful one day, and that I had to not compromise myself. So it was weird to hear this guy echo those sentiments back to me. And then he gave me some cool advice. Uh, he said, "You guys will get a kick out of this." He said, to because of this issue that I'm having with booking people, and a lot of them fall through the what do you call it, the grates, and they don't contact me back anymore. And he said to fake a secretary, which is weird because I kind of feel like that's a little bit of a lie, but it's a harmless lie. But he just said the psychology of people is that they are much more likely to secure a date with you and hold true to it if you if they speak to a secretary. It just, I guess, it gives them ideas that the show is bigger than it is. I don't know. So maybe I will do that. And only the 6 people in the chat will ever know that. And then 10 years from now, when I'm successful, somebody will come out and expose me and be like, "I was there in the beginning when he said that he was gonna lie. Catherine does not exist. She's never existed. It's been the Raven the entire fucking time." Um, but yeah, there was a lot of that talk. And then he did like a really interesting brain game. But all in all, man, it was cool. Um, and it felt special. But hey, I was in New Orleans and I was looking for spooky dookies, and I could have easily have just fallen for some bullshit, right? But he struck me as a very genuine dude. It was weird though, because he's wearing a fez. Like a fez is like, he's like a gay dude. He's super gay, super cool though. Honestly, I'm not gonna fucking front. Um, and he's wearing a fez, which is like a little red cylindrical hat with a tassel. And he's got a very specific cross on the hat. Let me see if I can find this for you, because I feel like it has something to do with satanic cross. Or is it a Rosicrucian thing? It was what it was a red. Oh, okay. Well, great. Yeah. It's, oh. Well, it was the Leviathan cross. Um, hmm. Man, that doesn't feel too good. Was he a Shriner? I'm unfamiliar with the term Shriner, but we'll read it here on air, since you've asked. What is a Shriner? Because they have fezzes. No, he wasn't. He wasn't that. No, that looks like something like the Muslim Brotherhood or some shit. Shriners or Shrine Masons. Oh, okay. Belong to Shriners International, formerly known as the Ancient Arabic Order of Nobles of the Mystic Shrine. Damn, that's wordy. They should really think about rebranding that. Yeah, so he had the Leviathan cross on his hat. Interesting. And he also had like a little swirly mustache, which your boy used to have a little swirly mustache too. But the maintenance was too high and I stopped doing it. So, it's like, am I doomed by proxy of having communicated with this guy? Probably not. Um, had he, oh, here we go. Boom. The Intercontinental Hotel in Chicago was originally a Shriner gym. A gym? What the what did they do there? Tons of symbolism still there. Yeah, I don't know. I've actually never heard of the Shriners before, although I do think that I've seen them represented in various cartoons when I was a kid because there was always somebody who was like, I think even Tommy Pickles' grandpa had scenes where he would wear a fez and it was like he was, basically part of like an Elks Lodge or something, like some sort of fraternal order. And I've seen that in several cartoons since I was a kid, but never really knew what the hell they were. But yeah, and a lot of that was a gimmick. He's wearing the fez. He's got a handlebar mustache. He's driving like an 1860s car, like no shit, legitimately like a car from the 1800s. Um, but he did know, uh, what tarot is very similar to astrology and is very similar to numerology, where it's not a psychic practice, but basically you're just taking in numerology and astrology, you're taking somebody's times that they were born and shit like that. And then there's a correlating set of symbols and numbers that go with those times and dates that people are born. And then all you're doing is just telling people what those symbols and numbers mean. And then it just so happens that, yeah, they all speak to the individual who was born around the time that those symbols and numbers correlate with. So the same thing with tarot, except there is a little bit of mysticism in the way that he's pulling blindly from the deck. And so the deck is shuffled at random. And within that random shuffling, something is happening where things are being ordered in a way that is relevant to the person who's being read. So, MK Ryan says Paul usually refers to them as high level Freemasons. They do a lot of clown stuff for kids. I've been thinking about bothering Paul soon because I'd like to have him on. I feel like we only scratched the surface of the clown thing, and a lot of fans of the show were really into the episode. And Paul and I have been talking back and forth. He's actually part of a group that I tossed him in on Twitter, and so I'm thinking that maybe we'll do the part two to that because he never even got to talk about why the red nose, why the big red mouth, things like that. With all the cannibalism and stuff. For those of you who are in the chat and don't know what I'm talking about, it's like episode 8. Yes, episode 8 of the Ravens Watch with Paul from Understanding Conspiracy. So, and another thing about New Orleans that I thought was really strange is that, or not strange, really. And MK Ryan, this will speak to something that you probably know. There is a tremendous amount of jester symbolism everywhere, like white face, red mouths, jester caps everywhere. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, in one of my previous episodes with Paul of Understanding Conspiracy, Paul lays out this really compelling and really well researched theory that the modern day visage of the clown that we're also accustomed to is actually sort of an homage. It's something that was inspired by the Nephilim. That the white skin of the clown is actually the white skin that Cain was cursed with, or a symbol that was put upon Cain so that he wasn't murdered all willy-nilly for killing Abel. And that the red nose is actually something that happens to people when they consume human meat. That you almost get like these varicose veins in your nose and everything turns red, and that the oversized big red lips, because you know how they paint all kind of, that's from the blood that would have been all over their mouths from eating the children. The bright red hair, or not the children, but the people, whatever. The bright red hair that goes back to the Nephilim as well. So you have like the giant of Kandahar, who was in Kandahar, Afghanistan, and they have like crimson hair and beards and really pale skin. And there's a whole plethora of shit to the outfits that they wear, where they're filled with all these fractal patterns to represent reptilian skin. So he's got it down pat to a science, but we only got so far. I think we hit the 2 hour mark, and there was still so much left that we hadn't unpacked. And so I'd like to have him back soon. But in New Orleans, where you see all these jester things, after knowing that and having that context, I'm like, shit, man. Because if there's one place that the Nephilim are hanging out, it's fucking New Orleans, dude. Like that place is not okay. You can feel it there. There's some shit going on. It's a dark it's not an evil place, but evil lives there. There's a lot of it there. Uh And it's funny because if you take all that in consideration and then you just look at the way that the people are faring, like the people of New Orleans are not okay. Uh, except for my buddy Paul, who was on episode maybe 4. I think it was 4. Yeah, I believe it was. He lives out in New Orleans and he's a great dude. Good God fearing man. Uh, but yeah, man, it was a weird place, and I would definitely go again. Um, there was I could have gotten into a little bit more had I apparently gone to the apothecary and asked the bartender for a pass or a ticket to a speakeasy, and it was like a hidden speakeasy, and then I could have gotten in the door and you know 1, 2, 3 found vampires. I don't know how it really would have worked, but I really wasn't uh too keen on doing all that with my wife there, especially after her stepping in human feces. I kind of said, maybe that's enough excitement. It's not every day you almost slip and fall in a turd that came from a man. And so maybe it's okay that we don't go and see, the vampires or the occultists. I told you we were gonna go see the cemetery, but it just felt like it was such a gimmick. What am I going to do? I'm going to go all the way across town and walk around the cemetery. In hindsight, having seen the cemetery from afar when I was going to the airport, it was, um, for lack of a better term, it was gorgeous. They don't have really headstones. They have these monuments on everybody's grave. And they were so old and they were so elaborate that I did begin to understand as I drove by it. I was like, "Oh, okay, that's why people go there." Because I was like, "Why the fuck are we going in New Jersey? It's just, there's just headstones." I haven't been to a cemetery out in Florida, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a basic, and no, not in New Orleans. Like, it's a whole fucking thing. Here, let's read a couple of these, and then I got to get going soon. Armchair Priest Andy Kaufman, which equals 666 in gematria. That's interesting. Was a professional clown for kids before he let people label him a comedian. I think he was MK Ultra and plays Trump like a NWO written persona. That's interesting. Yeah, I hear a lot of weird shit about Kaufman. MK Ryan, Dark Waters talks about how there are still giants living in the swamps of Louisiana on episode 48 of Blurry Creatures. Dude, Blurry Creatures is a fantastic show. I wish those guys would give me the time of day as I scream up at them from my little podcast because those guys are onto some shit. All right. Like that whole uh seeing the paranormal world through a biblical context is, I mean, obviously I'm following suit. I'm inspired 100% by guys like Blurry Creatures and also Tony Merkel of the Confessionals. um there's this whole idea that it just doesn't fit, that the biblical context doesn't fit into the world of the occult. And it's like, no, actually, it's a perfectly fine lens to see this shit through, and it applies really well. Oh, what up, Top? Yeah, I already shouted out reading is gay. And, you kind of fucked up because just by virtue of reading it, now everybody's gay. Everybody in the chat is gay. So sorry, but head over to toplobster.com and get yourself a reading is gay shirt and buy just one size bigger. It's a little bit tight, but it's a fucking quality shirt, dude. My son loves it. It's his favorite one. Um, did you know hold on, let's read this one. Did you know Gangsta Disciples use tons of Freemasonic symbols and references, including the Star of David? Yes. Yeah, you mean like, oh wait, Gangsta Disciples is an actual group, right? Or am I just, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a group. Because I was gonna say it's also weird how in the Bloods and shit, like they use the inverted star, like the pentagram. Like that's fucking weird. Do you guys even know you guys are occultists? I didn't know that. But yeah, Dark Waters has a lot of really interesting shit. Giants living in the swamps of Louisiana. Huh. Yeah, I don't know too much about that one. I do know that I know the famous Giant of Kandahar story. And I know that a lot of people lately, like Tony and them, are. Oh, so there you go. Damn. See, I'm not a herb or an herb. What's the expression? Yes, it is an organized crime above Bloods and Crips. So, like, what the fuck is going on there, dude? Like, I mean, I guess that makes sense. I'm sure there's a lot of gangs in New Orleans, and if you told me when I was down in New Orleans, like, um, actually the thing that's orchestrating all these gangs and causing all this suffering is some ancient Nephilim entity, I'd be like, oh yeah, 100 fucking percent, 100%. Like I said, it's so heavy down there. Uh, I was looking for that because I've heard people say before when you get off the plane at certain places that have like a heavy occult kind of background that you can feel it. And initially I didn't. In hindsight, I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. It was 100% there. It's like it I don't know. Everybody is celebrating and just slobbing on the knob of dark entities down there. And it's weird because I don't know what percentage of them know what's actually going on and what percentage of them are actually just LARPing. Yo, I have 666 subs. Someone please tell me or please help me what incarnation. Well, that's it, dude. You have to even out those numbers. That's why I think mine I was following for a while on Twitter, 420, because that is a safe number. But if I was following 666, I'd have to level that out a little bit. Um, but yeah, there is like this feeling of heaviness, like everyone is excited to be part. Oh my god, dude! I gotta show you guys real quick. I don't give a shit how unprofessional this is. I'm holding my camera up to the the my camera because I okay, here we go, dude. I don't know if this will get me kicked off YouTube, but like look at the artwork. This is the artwork, dude, for one of the places that I walked in because I was looking for art. I wanted to bring something home cool and I don't know if you got there it is. There it is. So we've got like demons eating babies. Also, there's a bunch of vaginas for you. This one is eating a fetus. It's Satan eating a fetus. Like, bro, what in the fuck? Dude? I'm looking around this like, occult bookstore, and look, right on the other side of the store, it was 777 and other Kabbalistic writings by Aleister Crowley, and there was also the companion like context book for Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible. There was a lot of fucking really weird shit in there. So I guess I should have known this. This is fucking. I really don't like this one. Can you guys see that? They're all just like fetuses are raining down on hungry cannibals. So, when I tell Satan is so gay, bro. Satan is so gay. Satan is a I was going to say it, but I don't know if I'll get taken off of YouTube. But he's a big F word, dude. He's a Bob Saget. Yeah, dude, I don't know what the hell is going on there. Um But that's what I'm saying. When I tell you like that place, if you told me the gangs and everything there are all run and controlled by some ancient Nephilim deity, yeah, yeah, 100%. I went into the um I went into the Museum of Death, and I don't know, dude. It was like also super gay. So we go into the Museum of Death, and I immediately I actually start to get kind of nauseous, which like I'm not a bitch. That's not what's going on. I just felt weird. I didn't feel good in that building. I don't know what it was. And all it is you're walking through this is like different stations dedicated to different mass murders and shit like that. And the amount of white girls in there that are all so fascinated with Charles Manson and Ted Bundy and they're looking at like the grotesque pictures of the women that he, you know, R-worded and stabbed a bunch. Um, and they're really graphic pictures. I mean, it's literally chicks with holes in them, and not like the regular holes, and not like the bonus holes, or like maybe a lot of extra bonus holes. And it was really off-putting because I don't know what it is, man, but there's like this thing for like a lot of white chicks where they're like um obsessed with murderers. You know, like I know Charles Manson had a lot of would-be wives that were trying to marry him. So it was strange to see. Like there was everything from like a notebook that Ted Bundy wrote in to a napkin that was at the scene of like a giant murder. Lilith energy. That's really interesting that you should say that because uh are we blaming the wrong chick? Are we all blaming Eve for original sin? It's actually Lilith. I don't know much about Lilith, but I want to put the bat signal out to anybody who does, and I've got to find somebody because I keep hearing. I genuinely don't know who Lilith is. It was like a pre Eve woman that God created, and she was just a big skank, and so he was like, not this one. We don't like this one, and he got rid of her. But I want to find somebody who's knowledgeable uh in the topic because I'd very much like to hear about that. That's how I learn things too. By the way, guys, like thank God I'm articulate because I'm basically retarded. Like it's so hard for me to read because my mind operates very much how I talk. So it just keeps going and going. So I'll be reading something and then all of a sudden, like I just have to stop and think about it for way too long. And then I think about a bunch of other shit. Communicating with people is how I learn. I need somebody who knows some shit about Lilith because I want to know, what was up with the original hoe. Uh yeah, she wanted to be top and equal. Can't be, see? Can't be. Can't be. And God was like, you can't even, not even the kitchen. You don't even get to, you got to be gone. And he tossed her to the side. I was listening recently to somebody talking about the original people before Adam and Eve, because obviously through the Bible, you could read a lot of passages that suggest that there was already kingdoms established. And like, who was it that was going to kill Cain when he murdered Abel? So they had to put the sign of white skin on him. Uh, who was it if there was nobody, if Adam and Eve were the first people? So that's very interesting. There's a lot of info for her. Well, if you ever, she apparently seduced Eve and kissed her. Damn it, bro. They've been for the streets forever. Forever. Something about chicks, they just kiss each other. Imagine if guys did that. Imagine if we were just so cozy with each other. We were always just making out and doing a bunch of gay shit. Oh my God, bro. We wouldn't be worth a damn. We don't want some dude fixing your roof who just got finished kissing his homie for fun. Um, but yeah, Mr. Espalda Espalda Palabra. If you happen to know anybody who's well versed in the Lilith saga, I would very much be interested in that information because uh, it's just fascinating to me. But I know very little about it except for apparently that she was for the streets and she should have just been, um, just doing regular lady shit. It's crazy how fast they rebel. Like people today rebel against God without ever having like much of a connection. Imagine being one of the first beings created by God. So you definitely know that God's there. And then you're like super combative, like right off the bat. You just like, I want the fucking rights that you have. And God's like, damn, bitch, like you know me. You see me. And you think it's like, I haven't seen God and I'm afraid to disobey. I'm always thinking, like, shit, man, is this what God would want? Am I fucking up right now? Like, I don't know. I gotta kind of, but this is like straight from the source. Like he just made you, and then the first thing you do is bitch and moan. And he's just, it's just in their nature. It's just women. It's just women. A lot of, I will say that in the hey, yeah, look, the women in New Orleans are super disheartening, bro. They're super disheartening. Like they're so gross. And look, I slammed the guys, right? The guys had their balls hanging out and shit like that, and everybody was drunk, and everybody kind of wanted to fight too, and I hate that shit. But women, they're just so. I mean, I saw so much just large black women with cottage cheese thighs, just fucking, just fucking on there, just with their hands on the ground, and they're just fucking. I was passing by a child. There's a child with drumsticks, and he's getting to work, right? On his buckets. He's got flipped over and he's and just in front of him, just fucking. And like I told you, my wife stepped in human shit, but these bitches have their palms on the concrete and they're just twerking at this small child. And this is just fucking another Tuesday for him. He's just still going, not missing the beat because he's professional. And these women are just Super disgusting. Super disgusting. I think there's something really, really, there's something to be said about the women who are pulling their tits out in New Orleans, and it's not even Mardi Gras. It's not even Mardi Gras. What are you doing? This isn't even the parade. And you can buy beads because you never know when these creatures are going to pull their tits out. You can buy beads to throw them in their face because that's all they want. They just want the beads, so they pull their tits out and you fucking peg them in the face and you go on, get out of the garden, Lilith. Get out of here. And you whip the beads in their face and you send them on their way. But imagine being the chick that it's just because, like I said, the party is on all the time on Bourbon Street. It never stops. So imagine just being there on a meaningless Saturday, not even a meaningless Saturday. Imagine being there on a meaningless Sunday. Wait, even better. It's 9/11 Eve. 9/11 Eve, and you're pulling your tits out, and it's not even Mardi Gras. And also, people have work in the morning, and you're pulling your tits out. I don't know. It's disgusting. And just so you know how much of a gangster I am, um, guess who was in the sky on 9/11? It was me. I was in the sky. I was on a plane on 9/11. And I kept seeing it. When I came home, my son was like, be careful, it's 9/11. And I'm like, what the fuck are you, where are you hearing this? Like, they want you to be so afraid. I got a couple of things. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Before we get out of here, we're going to have a little bit from the armchair priest. Uh, boom, boom. Oh, wait. Mr. Espaldarbarbarus says TC Bailey 37 has some interesting things to say about her. That's interesting. And I will certainly look that person up. And the armchair priest says Samuel seduced Lilith first using her emotion of now wanting to bow to Adam. She then tortured people, etc. Samuel then seduced Eve and produced Cain. And that's where you get that fucked up bloodline. It's even in their book. Huh. I wonder what book is that? I meant not wanting to bow. Okay, I see. And thus, Michael, Metatron, interesting, was used by God. There's a lot of people who follow the Galactic Federation of Light and are like, I'm communicating with Metatron, and Metatron's going to save us all one day. And thus, Michael, Metatron, was used by God as an image for the Holy Spirit, Pistits. Pistis, not Pistits. To breathe life into Adam, Enoch, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, the Christ, and Michael, and the Great Prince. Shit, I still want to experience Mardi Gras, man. Just visualize it like you do. I can't imagine. Like, look, you should go and you should see it because I think there's a lot of value to be derived from it. Like, I'm in this kind of little small town where I live, and in Florida, and it's very quiet here. And I think sometimes there's value in visiting hell so that you're reminded of what people are capable of. Like I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm one of those dudes that like I'll sit back and I'll watch, not all the time. I can only stomach so much, but I'll see or watch like a really graphic video of, whether it's those cartel videos. I know I sound like a fucking psychopath right now, but I've seen them. I've watched more than a few, and I still will, if one comes across me somehow, I'll watch it because it puts a really sickening feeling in my stomach watching somebody get stabbed to death with a screwdriver, but it also reminds me, like, yeah, we know what people are capable of. And it's one thing to know it, but it's another thing entirely to see it in action. And it flavors the way I move around. Like, I don't know. I don't want to get all black pilled, but it's like, does everybody deserve the benefit of the doubt? To an extent, yeah. But don't get so lost in like being kind to people and not judging. I love that shit, right? Where it's like, oh, the judging is for God, not for you. Bitch, I'm gonna judge the shit out of you. I have to know if I have to cross the fucking street when I'm walking by you with my family, or if you're okay and I'm gonna be able to fucking say hello to you and wave to you. You know what I mean? So yeah, judge a book by its cover. Yeah, go to New Orleans and see what people are made of and have fun. I had a lot of fun. It wasn't like a total, I don't want to be a downer. It wasn't like a total fucking terrible time. I would go again. There's so much like beauty and mystique to New Orleans. And I feel like you can go there and have a really wild experience, a different experience every time. It's a party city, but like wasn't partying. I went to Coheed and Cambria and I'm so fucking weird that like I can't suspend my individualism and jump around. I can't do that. I'm so fucking weird. Like I can't do that. If I go to a place, which I did, and it's filled with people, and they're all fucking goo goo goo, throwing the devil horns, and they're all jumping up and down to the thing, and I'm like, hmm, I said honestly, I spent a lot of time. Um, I think I'm sharing too much. I spent a lot of time thinking like I could fuck that guy up. I could definitely fuck that guy up. That's what I do. I think about that shit. Like I'm one of the people that thinks about fucking everybody up in the room that I'm in. Like how would I do it if I had to fucking do it? I can grab this chair, create distance, throw this, push kick. So I basically just sat around and thought about that a lot. And this is an interesting thing because boom, EDM shows have so much demonic symbology. So did this show. So there's like these teleprompters that are behind Coheed as they're playing, and the imagery was like flames and demons, and it all felt weird. And I'm not good at suspending my individuality and like becoming part of a mob. I'm just not good at it. Also, I stay on the outsides of mobs. I don't go into them. So, like even the Coheed show, my first thing was like find a wall to lean against. And then my second thing was like find some vodka. I needed a double fucking Tito's on ice because I don't mix my shit because I got fucking a dick. I just got Tito's on ice because I needed to take some of that edge off because I'm in the defensive mode whenever I'm out. So my wife is like, I love the city. She loves the city. Um, and I don't fucking love the city. I don't love the city because I'm clocking danger everywhere. And also, there's something about me. I got like a fucking punchable face or something. Like people love to want to start shit with me. It's really strange. Like finally, my wife noticed it. We're like, I could not walk past a homeless guy without the homeless guy like causing a fucking problem for me. I think it's because I'm not a very tall guy. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know what it is. They try coming for me all the time. So I can't go to these places and have it. When my wife's like, oh, I always have a good time when she was like a teenager in the city or like early 20s or whatever. I'm like, it's a different thing for guys. It's not the same for girls as it is for guys. At least in my experience, girls they go, they have a good time. They go to the club, they go to the bar. People buy them drinks. People treat them well. As a dude, it's like dodging constant potential violent scenarios every which fucking way I go. It's always been like that. Everywhere I go, it's like somebody wants to fucking fight. Every train that I'm on, subway that I enter, city streets and blocks that I walk around, there's always somebody waiting to fucking I don't know what it is. I got a punchable face. All right, guys. I have the opposite. I learned to keep my head down at a young age in Louisiana. Yeah, I don't do that. I, I mean, I guess everybody has different. I learned when I was a kid, if I kept my head down, they would come for me. So I always had to put my chest out, my chin up, and fucking. All right, fine. Quick story before I go. So I just told you that works for me. It doesn't always work for me. When I was a teenager, I lived in a really bad area, and I stayed out late. And I'm trying to walk home. It's like 10:30 at night, and there's a bunch of fucking scholars, right? There's a bunch of scholars. They're all hanging out in the corner, and they're smoking and they're drinking and they're slapboxing, and they're on my way home. Like I need to go this way. I could go around the block, but they've already seen me. So I think if I go around the block, they're gonna fucking chase me. I'm really not trying to get into a chase. I'm not trying to run. So I'm gonna put my fucking chin in the air and I'm walking through them, not even around them. Maybe I fucked myself up a little bit, but like you try a lot of different things when you live in the hood. So instead of walking through them, hold on, wait, let's take a little intermission for the armchair priest. I think you mentioned the mob. My grandpa was connected with the mob. His father-in-law, a Santeria priest on mom's side, Franciscans. Show what a Franciscan is. Grandma's related to Daniel Boone. Grandpa worked at Brookhaven Lab. What the fuck is going on, dude? You're like deeply embedded in a lot of strange things. I'm very skeptical of you now, armchair priest. Um, but so I decide to walk through them, and this is gonna be this is the last story. I only intended to go for an hour because I got another episode I'm recording in a couple of hours. Um, so I decide to go through them, and everything is kind of working out, right? And from my point of view, it's like armchair priest says, "Yeah, I'm kind of crying out for help, to be honest." This guy's like, "My fucking family is controlling me with an iron fist, and they're coming from all different wild directions." Um, it did work out for a minute. I did get pretty deep into the crowd. There was like 10 to 15 of them, probably somewhere in the middle of that. I always say like 12. And I say like, "What's good?" to a couple of them. Everything's cool. I'm still walking. And then there's a couple of them that are slap boxing. And when one of them gets hit, he kind of like bumps into me. No big deal though. Everything's still cool. I don't really react to it. I just keep it moving, and I make it out the other side of them. And all of a sudden I hear, what are you, a bitch?" And I'm thinking they're talking to me. And I'm like, "Shit." I was like this close, dude. I was so close to getting out of there. And the very next thing I hear is somebody yell "trip set," which ends up being like some fucking gang thing. It's like part of the Bloods or whatever. I don't think these kids are really fucking Bloods, but what's the difference, right? When they fuck you up. So they yell "trip set." And I could even remember hearing there's a sound that aluminum bats make, like a bunk. I can't really do it, like whatever, you know what I'm saying. Uh, and I think he was really talking to, when he said, "Are you a bitch?" He was talking to the kid with the bat. Turns out, kid with the bat wasn't no bitch. So he smashed the back of my head with the baseball bat, and I promptly took a nap on the concrete. And I still have like a chunk, taken like a big blobulous scar on my pinky, and my elbow is a little bit, screwy because I kind of, like fell on my shit. I guess I'm guessing because that was, I didn't have anything on my face. I did have a lot of shit on my arms. And what it felt like to me, this is the most interesting part about it. It felt like I heard the things, I heard Bink, and then I've it was like I saw the ground coming towards me quickly, and then all of a sudden I was standing up. But what really happened was the ground did come towards me quickly, and I met it equally as quickly. Took a nap for, I don't know. The lady said there was a lady who saw the whole thing. She was too afraid to get out of her car and help me, and I think I was 14 or 15. And yeah, you know what's crazy though? Uh, I'm calling you Mr. E. Mr. E says he knows a guy with permanent traumatic brain injury from being hit in the back of the head with a pole, and that he's glad I'm still here. And I appreciate that sentiment, but I do think it changed me. Like, I've just never been the same. I became like really loud, and uh my commitment for like shit that would scare you became like really heightened. So I was suddenly able to, but I think it made sense. I think it was like, I'm never letting that happen again. So commitment to violence and shit like that all went through the roof, but also commitment to all sorts of other things. Like, I've done stand up, I've moved from Jersey to Vegas, and like all the big, I've fucking walked out on jobs, walked into other jobs, got a new job the same day. Like, I don't give a fuck. I'm not afraid of anything. I just go towards it. So I think that all changed from that day, honestly. Uh, so there was a lady, she was too afraid to come and do anything because she didn't want to get fucked up. So uh I got back up. My body got up before my brain turned on because I didn't see anything until I was already standing, and now suddenly like walking like an insane person, shuffling across the street, and I couldn't see out of my left eye. I was blind. So it was just, you know, not that this is what people saw, but this is what I saw. And I remember walking across the street, but I was unconscious. So I remember talking to that woman, and she's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I couldn't even speak. I don't think I made words at her. And I remember her saying things like, "You were out for a long time." And I remember that. And so when I got better, I was like, "Bitch." Um, And then the next thing I know, I'm having these like all of a sudden I'm a block further than I was. And then I'd blink and I'd be like, several hundred feet down the road. And then I'd blink and I'd be in a totally different spot over and over again until I got to my house. And I started banging on the front door. I was already late. So my mother, because I was a kid, I was like 14 or 15. My mother went to open the door and I was leaned up against it. And the whole front of it was white and was all covered in blood. And I just fell and hit the ground. And she freaked out. And next thing you know, she puts me in a tub of cold water and is like telling me to stay awake. And I ended up being fine, recovered the vision in my eye, uh, went and did some theatrical tough guy shit at school because I thought I knew who was affiliated with the people that hit me. So I like fucking grabbed some kid by his shirt and was like, "Oh, bro, why you do this to me?" And he was a good sport because he was like also kind of gang affiliated, so he really could have beat me up. And I wasn't like a challenge. I was young and dumb, and he probably could have made my life really hard after that if he told his homies like, "Hey, let's beat his ass again." But I think he honestly did know about what happened to me and was like, "Oh shit," because all those kids ran. They didn't take my wallet. They didn't take anything from me. They probably thought they killed me and then they ran. And so the kid that I thought was affiliated with them, I had been going to school with him since I was a kid. So I think he had some empathy for me, and let me do my little theatrical tough guy shit. But that all changed. Like I got into a fight and I hit somebody with a pipe after that. Like I was on a real bad stretch for a long time. Actually got into a lot of fights. I put some kid in the hospital. That all changed a lot about me, and I'm not at all violent anymore. Now I'm nice. God damn it. Such a strange way to end the show. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I got another show in a couple of hours with Conspiracy Kyle. He's going to tell us all about how Star Wars is the devil. And then tomorrow, I got a show with Top Lobster. He and I are going to be interviewing Micah, Micah, and he is incredibly knowledgeable about very many things. One of which is astrology, but he's like basically he echoes a lot of the sentiments from Zeitgeist. And I have a lot of disagreements when it comes to the Zeitgeist film, but he still knows his shit. And so he should have some really compelling information and it should be a really fun conversation. And then I have someone who has had near death experiences and a lot of paranormal things throughout his life. The show about Star Wars is going to be on my channel. Yes. So it's not going to be live. We're gonna record it, and then I have to edit it a little bit. It'll probably be up like tomorrow, something like that. And then episode with Top, then an episode with my buddy who's been near death experienced. That's what happened. He's been near death experienced. Um, and I have a bunch of awesome shit coming on. I got a lady who claims to know the identity of the Hat Man, and for those of you who have been watching the show since its start, you'll know that that is a saga that we keep revisiting, and I plan to completely or continue to revisit it until we figure out who that motherfucker is. All right, so thank you for watching the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that stuff, and I'll catch you later. Bye bye.